Amazing twist. Kind girl helped wheelchair woman, but her touching act led to an unexpected loss. Emma had always seen herself in a white coat, saving lives in a sterile hospital, but on that sweltering afternoon she found herself clutching a paintbrush instead. Kneeling beside Mrs. Thompson, a vibrant but elderly woman in a wheelchair, Emma felt like a fool. The community center's paint-stained walls vibrated with laughter, the colors swirling around them. Yet beneath that joy lay an unsettling undercurrent: fear. Her father's unexpected job loss loomed over her like a dark cloud, threatening to rain down despair. And that gnawing pressure tightened around her chest as Mrs. Thompson's cheerful banter filled the air. Emma's hands trembled slightly as she painted, her heart torn between her dreams and the reality of her family's struggles. "Remember, Emma," Mrs. Thompson said, her eyes sparkling with a mischievous glow, "every masterpiece starts with a stroke of courage." As the words left Mrs. Thompson's lips, Emma hesitated. She wanted courage to chase her dreams, but with each stroke, a new weight settled upon her shoulders. Could she abandon her own aspirations when her family so desperately needed her help? As days passed, Emma's dreams of a summer art program began to flicker, threatening to extinguish. The harsh truth hung in the air. If she applied, she risked becoming selfish, leaving her family to fend for themselves amid the financial wreckage. Yet Mrs. Thompson encouraged her relentlessly. "You have a gift, don't let it go to waste." The flicker of creative passion battled fiercely against the encroaching shadows of obligation. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In that moment, the tension cracked like a tense string. Emma discovered that Mrs. Thompson wasn't just a mentor, she was losing her home. Suddenly, the vibrant colors of their art faded beneath the oppressive weight of impending eviction. The news tore at Emma's heart, her breath catching as she absorbed her friend's anguish. Could she really pursue her dreams while Mrs. Thompson could end up homeless? She clenched Mrs. Thompson's frail hands tightly, warmth flooding through their connection. "What if we could find a way together?" Emma's voice quaked, an anguished whisper that echoed in the depths of her mind. The chaos of her life surged through her, colliding with the soft laughter of the neighborhood outside. The knots in her stomach twisted tighter. The pressure mounted as reality collided with hope. The street outside was filled with the sound of familiar faces, each oblivious to the storm within her. Would she sacrifice everything she had wished for, everything she had dreamed of, to support a friend in need? Emma's thoughts raced, heart pounding against her chest. She stood at a precipice, feeling every ounce of weighty despair. The decisions felt insurmountable, reality precariously balanced on her slender shoulders. She was suspended between empathy and ambition, torn between light and shadow. With the clock ticking ominously, Emma felt as if she teetered on the edge of a profound abyss, uncertainty clawing at her soul. What choice would she make when every heartbeat underscored the dilemma that could change their lives forever? Would the cost of kindness obliterate her dreams, or could she carve a new path, one that would intertwine both their fates? Days melted into one another as Emma grappled with the growing heaviness in her heart. Each time she closed her eyes, the weight of Mrs. Thompson's predicament surfaced along with the myriad colors she hoped to unleash upon the world. The boundless canvas of her dreams reminded her of the stark confines of reality, especially when she considered her father's dwindling spirits, morose and distanced. In her mind, they were locked in a fierce battle, and there were no winners, only the question of sacrifice. It had been a week since she first learned of Mrs. Thompson's looming eviction. Hope lingered in the air like the scent of fresh paint, yet Emma could not bring herself to act on it. Instead, she watched as her own aspirations faded, buried under the weight of her circumstances. Each brushstroke felt as though she were etching further lines of responsibility in her life rather than channeling creativity. Emma avoided the distant hum of conversations among her peers, choosing instead to find solace in the paint-splattered walls where her emotional turmoil could be captured and concealed. Mrs. Thompson, despite her trials, continued to offer encouragement, pushing Emma to explore her depth, a depth Emma herself had not fully acknowledged. But the thought of chasing dreams while another faced despair gnawed at her conscience ruthlessly. "Courage is often quiet," Mrs. Thompson said one afternoon, observing Emma's hesitations. "It's not always shouting from the rooftops. Sometimes it's just a whisper in your ear." The elderly woman's resilient spirit clashed with Emma's internal fear. She felt her own hopes fluttering like a moth drawn to light, only to turn away from the very fire that nourished it. A sudden clarity struck her. What if she didn't have to choose between ambition and support? What if she could fuse her passions into something greater? That thought ignited a flicker of determination. "A gallery," Emma murmured, her mind racing. She recalled the local art show a few weeks back, where someone had suggested pooling talents for a charity sale. What if she gathered her friends, her artistic community, and created a fundraiser specifically to aid Mrs. Thompson? The idea swelled within her like a canvas awaiting the first touch of paint. Paint, vibrant and full of possibility. Heart-racing, Emma turned to Mrs. Thompson, her eyes gleaming with newfound energy. "What if we hold an art exhibition? We could sell our pieces, and all proceeds would go to help you with the rent." As her words hung in the air, Emma felt both exhilaration and trepidation. Was this even possible? Would anyone participate? Doubts crept in, but there was also a resolve, a sense that this was more than just about her. Mrs. Thompson's face lit up with hope. "That's brilliant, my dear. Just imagine what you could create when surrounded by support." But then, as reality tends to do, a fresh wave of anxiety washed over Emma. Would her friends see this as a worthy cause? Would they believe enough in her idea to rally behind it? And deeper still was the worry, what if she failed? Emma forced herself to breathe through the anxiety, to plan. She envisioned flyers, collaborative art pieces, artists reaching into their depths for something truly meaningful. It required courage, a quality Emma had been uncertain she possessed. She began sketching ideas, scribbling potential partnerships as her excitement grew. As her determination solidified, she was met with the haunting memory of her father's disappointment. What if he viewed this endeavor as time wasted? A voice inside her challenged, what of conviction? What of purpose? Every moment she spent crafting this plan illuminated echoes of her dreams she thought long lost. With each line she drew, she felt her resolve deepen. No more would she allow the specter of her father's job loss extinguish her spirit. She had the power to create opportunities for herself and for Mrs. Thompson, the realization igniting a fire within. But just as Emma reached for this flickering ember of hope, a shadow slipped across her thoughts. Would she face rejection, not only from the world outside, but from her own family? The heart of the matter twisted painfully. Was this truly the right path for both of them, or was she still teetering on that precarious edge? The moment of revelation was palpable, slicing through her uncertainty. But as she prepared to rally her resources and set her plan into motion, the question loomed larger than ever. Was she ready to confront the potential backlash from her family while embracing the new responsibilities ahead? Emma awoke the next morning with a sense of urgency buzzing in her veins. The art exhibition idea spiraled through her mind like the vibrant colors she longed to paint. Each brushstroke could be a step toward unshackling her dreams, but also a commitment to the heart-wrenching reality Mrs. Thompson faced. The anxiety nestled in her chest materialized into fleeting motivation. Each moment spent contemplating others' beliefs filled her with a deeper understanding of the price of inaction. She began to draft a plan. Her pencil glided over the sketchpad, inventing flyers that would scream, "Hope lives here," as if those words could combat the swirling doubts. Gathering her friends was crucial, but she needed to ensure they saw the importance of what lay ahead. Emma envisioned an intimate meeting, a call to arms disguised as a celebration of art. But envisioning was one thing, executing was another. The thought of reaching out to her friends sent a shiver down her spine. What if they dismissed her idea as childish? She had never initiated anything before, much less something that could bridge their creative souls with a cause. She would have to tap into a bravery she didn't fully understand. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, she found herself in the cafe where some of her fellow artists congregated. The walls buzzed with laughter and excitement, contrasting her internal turmoil. Close friends Mia and Chris were deep in conversation at one of the rustic tables, immersed in sketches of their latest projects. Emma swallowed hard, her pulse racing as she approached. "Hey guys," she started, her voice flickering like a candle's flame. Mia looked up with curiosity, and Chris paused, sketch in hand. "What's up, Em?" he asked, and his smile felt like an anchor. Taking a deep breath, Emma plunged into the tale of Mrs. Thompson and the exhibition, her emerald eyes gleaming as she spoke. Fear writhed beneath her confident facade. "I want to hold an art sale, and all proceeds would go to help her with rent. Would you guys be interested in working with me on this?" Silence encased the group for only a heartbeat, but it felt like eons. Then Mia glanced at Chris, a grin spreading across her face. "That's a fantastic idea. Count me in." Relief washed over Emma, but self-doubt still churned in her stomach. "Really? You think it could work?" "Of course! Look how beautiful and meaningful this could be," Chris chimed in, enthusiasm lighting his former indifference. They began discussing logistics, bouncing ideas back and forth as Emma realized an unexpected spark igniting within her, a leadership she had never perceived. Yet as excitement built, everything came rushing back, flooding the proud moment with images of her father's disillusionment. Was this truly worth it? Could she bring joy to both her art and Mrs. Thompson without losing her familial connection? In that moment, doubts surfaced, resisting her stride. "What if my dad doesn't understand? What if he thinks this is just a distraction?" she voiced hesitantly. Mia's expression turned serious. "Emma, you have to follow your heart. Sometimes people need time to understand how important our pursuits are. You matter too." Each word was a step closer to confronting the dual existence she had wrestled with, the burden of familial expectations and her responsibility to herself and others. Emma felt the warmth of their support, but was still trembling on the precipice. Days passed as the exhibition started taking shape. Flyers adorned walls, artist contributions poured in, and an envelope of pride began to swell within her. Yet one immutable question spun incessantly in her mind. Would her father share that pride? As she stood before the finished flyers one evening, a hint of doubt still crawled through her psyche. The notion of failure threatened to tear her newly discovered resolve apart. Yet the thought of Mrs. Thompson's face illuminated her fears. Her belief that courage could ripple outward, transforming not just her life, but subtly stitching new colors into the fabric of their community. Emma was about to take a procedural step forward when her phone rang. A message flashed on the screen that threw everything out of balance. "Dad wants to talk. He's coming home." Her heart plummeted. That lingering unease. Was she ready to face him? Would this be a confrontation or a reconciliation? The lines of her aspirations began to blur. The moment of truth had arrived. Emma placed her phone on the table. Its vibrations felt like a siren's call luring her toward emotional chaos. As she stared at the message, her heart raced with a mix of dread and anticipation. This communication from her father seemed to send shock waves through her carefully constructed world. What did he want? Drawing a deep breath, Emma tried to refocus on the exhibition. Each flyer lined up like little soldiers of hope, yet now it felt like they were standing against an encroaching storm. She poured herself into the work, attempting to distract herself. But the task at hand was intertwined with memories of her father's disapproval. In the following days, Emma found herself caught between the thrill of organizing the art sale and the deep-seated tension mounting around her father's impending visit. Mia and Chris rallied around her, cultivating an atmosphere teeming with camaraderie. They painted canvases, arranged schedules, and filled boxes with supplies. The camaraderie of her friends fended off her doubts temporarily, but couldn't completely shield her from the anxiety of the upcoming confrontation. As she painted late into the night, the brush gliding deftly across the canvas, Emma was confronted by a swirl of colors, reds representing her fears, blues embodying her hopes. Each stroke etched a vivid narrative of her internal struggles onto the canvas, battling the promising future with the looming shadows of her past. She yearned to unleash her dreams, yet the pressure erupted. Illuminating her father's expectations felt weighty, squeezing her chest tight. In one moment of frustration, Emma dropped her brush. It fell to the ground and splattered paint across the floor. As she knelt to pick it up, she caught a glimpse of her reflection in the paint-smeared floor. The emerging artist gazed back, one brimming with potential, but also wavering in self-belief. "Why is it so hard to believe in myself?" she questioned aloud, her voice echoing in the silence of the studio. The seconds stretched into minutes as she battled with uncertainty. One part of her wanted to withdraw, let the exhibition fizzle out like a forgotten dream. But another dared her to move forward, to consider the values she wanted to uphold, not just for Mrs. Thompson, but for herself. Those seconds culminated in a choice. She decided she would not let fear dictate her actions. The day of her father's arrival dawned with a heavy fog hanging in the air, mirroring her trepidation. As her friends buzzed around their preparations, Emma's hands trembled slightly as she arranged her paintings with newfound focus. Each piece represented a crossroads, a choice between her father's approval and her own truth. Just before her father was due to arrive, she sent Mia and Chris off to finish the final preparations, needing a moment of solitude. Alone, she stared at the painting she had created, reflecting not only her artistic vision, but also the essence of her journey. A journey of confronting herself alongside striving to support Mrs. Thompson. The door creaked open, and the familiar figure stepped in. Emma's pulse quickened, the reality of her pursuit crashing against the walls built by her father's expectations. Each moment before him felt amplified, charged with the potential for conflict or understanding. "Emma," he began, and she prepared herself for the conversation. But just as the words hung in the air, a realization hit her. The artistic risks, the calls for help through her art, and finally the conversation with her father would shape not only her present but her future. "You don't need to worry about what I think," she interrupted, voice steadier than before. "This is about what I believe in." The moment of truth stood at the threshold, and Emma was about to take a stance she had always feared, facing the possibility of rejection with grace. What would her father think? Would he see her growth, or would she be the girl he always wanted her to be? With her heart pounding, she prepared for the answer that would set the course for her aspirations and identity. Emma's heart raced as her father's presence filled the room with a silence that felt thick and heavy. He stood just past the threshold, eyes scanning the canvases. There was a flicker of apprehension in his gaze, a mixture of uncertainty and curiosity. "Is this it? Your exhibition?" He gestured vaguely, as if struggling to find the right words. "Yes," she replied, keeping her voice steady, "and I want you to see more than just the paintings." Each word felt deliberate, weighted. She could feel the electric tension in the air. It sparked the resolve deep within her. As she led him through the gallery of her artistry, each piece spoke of her experiences, her frustrations, her triumphs. She lingered on a particularly bold painting, a riot of colors clashing against each other. "This one is about my fear of disappointing you," she confessed. Her father frowned slightly, a reflexive reaction to the vulnerability she laid bare. "It looks chaotic," he remarked, though there was no malice in his tone, just an honest assessment. "Exactly," Emma leaned in, emboldened by her intent. "It's chaos, but it's mine. I've learned to embrace it, to create from it." Tension hovered in the space between them like an uninvited guest. She watched closely for his reaction, a mix of hope and apprehension swirling within her. "I wanted you to follow a certain path, to achieve all your dreams," he began, his voice wavering. "Your dreams," she corrected, each syllable pushing through with fierce honesty. "I thought for so long that I had to live them, but I need to find what they mean to me first." The adrenaline coursed through her veins, a rush that made her feel alive, even in the face of potential rejection. Her father's face turned pensive, eyes narrowing as if trying to grasp her fervor. "Emma, art isn't a career everyone can rely on. It's unstable," he cautioned. "But it's real," she countered, the conviction pressing against her chest until it felt like she might explode. "It's not just about stability. It's about passion, about connecting with something greater than myself. It's what I need. If that means risking your approval, then so be it." Her words hung in the air, and for a heartbeat, it felt like all the years of conflict condensed into that moment. As her father absorbed her conviction, Emma anxiously traced the edge of the nearest canvas, both fearful and hopeful. "This isn't just a phase," she pressed, her voice softer now, yet firm. "I want to make a difference with my art. Remember Mrs. Thompson? She deserves to have her story told, just like I deserve to tell mine." His brow softened as he considered the depth of her intent. "Emma, art isn't a career everyone can rely on. It's unstable," he cautioned. "But it's real," she countered, the conviction pressing against her chest until it felt like she might explode. "It's not just about stability. It's about passion, about connecting with something greater than myself. It's what I need. If that means risking your approval, then so be it." Her words hung in the air, and for a heartbeat, it felt like all the years of conflict condensed into that moment. As her father absorbed her conviction, Emma anxiously traced the edge of the nearest canvas, both fearful and hopeful. "This isn't just a phase," she pressed, her voice softer now, yet firm. "I want to make a difference with my art. Remember Mrs. Thompson? She deserves to have her story told, just like I deserve to tell mine." His brow softened as he considered the depth of her intent. "And what if it doesn't work out? What then?" The concern etched in his features gave way to something like understanding, or was it resignation? "I guess I'll just have to figure that out when I get there," she replied, the words spilling forth like a release. "But I won't know unless I try." The silence stretched again, but this time it felt different, laced with a tentative understanding. Emma caught a glimpse of something new in his eyes, a flicker of acceptance, or at least acknowledgement that she was forging her own path, one this time not entirely dictated by him. As the moment began to settle like dust, she sensed that perhaps they had crossed a threshold. Their relationship, once frozen in expectation, felt like it was starting to thaw. What could that mean for both of them? But just as hope swirled like possibility, her father's phone buzzed in his pocket, shattering the fragile atmosphere. He glanced at the screen, and his expression shifted, drawing lines of worry across his face. "Emma, I need to take this," he said, stepping away. The moment rippled with uncertainty as he walked away. Suddenly, her clarity felt threatened, brewing shadows over her newly proclaimed desires. Would their moment of connection be forsaken for whatever was calling him away? As she watched him, Emma realized she stood on the brink of something monumental. That small opening into her father's acceptance of her choices could slip away entirely if she let doubt creep back in. She needed to show that her journey was valid, that it mattered, not just for him, but for her. Determined to break through this new barrier, she edged closer, heart racing, ready to confront whatever came next. All she needed now was the courage to press on. Emma took a breath and lifted her chin, stepping toward him just as the doorbell rang, an unexpected interruption that could change everything once again. Emma's pulse quickened as she stared at the door, the ringing echoing through the gallery like the ticking of a clock. Each chime felt like a countdown to an unresolved moment. She turned slightly to where her father had stood moments ago, his silhouette now hovering at the edge of the room. The uncertainty of their earlier exchange loomed in the air, waiting to settle like dust. "What if it's bad news?" she whispered to herself, heart pounding with anxiety. She could feel the soft brush of doubt creeping in, threatening to shift the delicate balance they'd started to build. But this was not the time to retreat into apprehension. She gripped the edge of a nearby canvas, channeling her energy into her art, into her truth. With a quick, decisive movement, Emma marched to the door, every step echoing her resolve. The door opened, revealing a figure in a wheelchair, framed by the warm evening light spilling in from the gallery. It was a woman she recognized as Amanda, a frequent visitor to local art shows, known for her deep appreciation of creativity, but hampered by her own physical challenges. "Emma, I hope I'm not interrupting," Amanda greeted, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "I heard about your exhibition and couldn't wait to see it." Once again, Emma felt that rush of invigoration, the kind that ignited her purpose. Here was someone who had faced immense physical obstacles, yet sought the beauty that others might overlook. Not unlike herself, and the struggles she had encountered in her relationship with her father. "No, not at all. In fact, I'm glad you're here." She stepped aside, gesturing for Amanda to enter. "This means a lot to me." As Amanda navigated into the gallery, Emma found herself explaining the story behind each piece, her passion pouring out as they moved from painting to painting. It was as if every word she spoke not only shared her artistry, but also reinforced her commitment to her own voice, a process that felt like therapeutic release. Amanda listened intently, nodding and offering insights that struck deep within Emma's heart. "Your work is powerful, Emma. You're fearlessly telling your story. Not everyone has the courage to be that vulnerable," she said, her words stirring something within Emma. "I'm trying," Emma admitted, vulnerability creeping back into her tone. "But there are days when I wonder if it's all worth it, especially when I think about how my dad feels." "I understand," Amanda replied, a knowing look in her eyes. "But remember, your art isn't just yours. It can resonate with many. You're doing more than creating. You're connecting." The conversation renewed Emma's sense of purpose, illuminating the core of her journey, the power of connection through art. She needed to not only embrace her past, but also shed the fear of judgment, especially from those she loved. Suddenly, Emma's thought drifted back to her father. "Do you think it's ever too late to reconcile?" she asked, uncharacteristically vulnerable in front of Amanda. "Never," Amanda replied firmly, "but you have to meet him halfway. Show him what your art means to you, and you might see him in a new light, too." As their conversation deepened, Emma felt as if the pieces of her life, fractured and chaotic, were starting to recombine into a narrative she could own. Art had always been a reflection of her inner world, but now it was becoming a bridge, an avenue to communicate her truth, even to her father. Just as the two women shared another laugh, the shrill sound of her father's unfinished call echoed from behind them. Emma's body tensed, an instinctive reaction as dread washed over her. Would he dismiss her passion yet again? "Are you okay?" Amanda asked gently, breaking her train of thought. "I will be," she promised herself, her determination solidifying. It was time for confrontation, not only with her father, but also with her own fears. With renewed resolve, she looked toward the chaos of the gallery that had initially felt suffocating, but now brimmed with potential. Each stroke on each canvas became a silent vow that she would no longer compromise her passion or her voice, not for anyone. Tonight might hold the answers she sought, or plunge her deeper into uncertainty. But one thing was clear: Emma was ready to embrace the outcome, no matter the cost. She felt the air shift as she glanced at Amanda, the emotions threading through their conversation, tethering her to the moment. "Let's go talk to him," Emma said, her voice steady with newfound strength. As they moved toward her father, the door to the past opened just a crack, hinting at the confrontation still looming ahead. Would this moment of clarity ignite transformation, or would it deepen the chasm of distance between them? Emma stepped forward, heart racing, determined to find out. As Emma approached her father, doubt clawed at her insides. She could feel the pull of her past. Every harsh word, every disappointed glance hung like shadows in her mind. Yet she was resolute. No longer would she let those shadows dictate her narrative. The gallery felt different now. It pulsed with energy, each canvas vibrant against the sterile walls. Emma maneuvered past the displayed works, her heart steadying with every step, not for the art's sake, but for the bonds they represented. "Dad," she called out as they neared the open doorway. The sound carried, assertive yet fragile, inflected with a sense of purpose she hadn't felt before. She had painted this moment countless times in her mind, yet had never found the right brushstroke. Perhaps tonight would be the first. He turned, surprise glazing over his features before shifting to something more guarded. In that moment, the air thickened between them, layers of unsaid words weaving an invisible barrier. "Emma," he acknowledged, his voice cautious, "I want to show you my exhibition. There's something I need you to understand." Her gaze didn't waver as she confronted him. It was time to reveal her depths. "Your art? Emma, we've been through this." His tone was clipped, defensive. "Art is not a stable career. You need to think about the future." "No, Dad," she said, finding an unexpected strength in her rejection of his fears. "I need you to hear me. You see these paintings?" She gestured to the canvases, vibrant swirls of color reflecting her tumultuous emotions, her hidden joy and pain. "They tell my story. They're not just brushstrokes on fabric, they're pieces of me." "You've always had a flair for the dramatic," he replied, crossing his arms. The barrier between them felt insurmountable. "Dramatic?" Emma echoed, her voice rising, yet agitated by a sense of misunderstanding. "It's not drama, it's vulnerability. Every piece is a step towards healing, a way for me to find my voice alongside my fears and struggles." "Healing?" His brow furrowed, skepticism woven into his words. "You think mere paint and canvas can heal? Why not? You don't understand how hard it is to express what you feel when you're constantly afraid of judgment." She took a steadying breath, embers of frustration igniting a clearer message. "For years, I felt lost, trying to be the perfect daughter who fits into your vision. But I'm not that person. I'm an artist." He stepped closer, eyes narrowing. "And what does that mean to me? What if I don't want to participate in your artistic vision?" At that moment, a piercing realization jolted through Emma. His refusal wasn't a dismissal of her art. It was a refusal to accept her new identity. "I can't change how you see me, Dad," she said softly, her resolve piercing through her vulnerability. "But I refuse to keep hiding who I am." The air grew still, their emotions cloaked in a delicate tension. She could see the threads of conflicting feelings weaving behind his hardened gaze. Perhaps he was grappling with whether he could accept an unfamiliar version of his daughter, one who bared her soul and stood defiant against his expectations. "What do you want me to say?" he finally asked, a flicker of uncertainty betraying him. "Just listen, for once," Emma pleaded, a tremor of desperation filtering into her words. Attend my exhibition. Engage with my work. I want you to see the world through my eyes. Silence enveloped them, as Emma's heart beat fiercely in the space between hope and despair. Could they find common ground? No promises, he replied, skepticism lingering in his tone. Feeling something shift within the air, Emma yearned for that promise to bloom. A seed of possibility had been planted, even if it was buried under layers of her father's constructed beliefs. "That's all I ask," she whispered, gratitude threading through her voice. Just then, Amanda rolled up beside Emma, her presence grounding. "You both have a lot to work through," she interjected, looking between them. In that moment, Emma felt a profound connection form between her father, Amanda, and herself. Three narratives intertwining, each holding struggles, but holding possibilities too. Yet, as uncertainty flickered across her father's face, Emma couldn't shake the fear that this was merely an opening act in a much larger performance. The warm glow of hope battled against the chilling shadows of doubt. With lingering tension crackling in the air, Emma braced herself for the journey ahead. Was it truly possible to bridge the chasm that had long separated them, or was this moment simply another false dawn? The answer loomed just beyond reach, and as she prepared for the next step, she found herself hoping that vulnerability might hold the key to her father's acceptance. And amid everything, she realized that nothing truly profound comes easily. As the gallery lights dimmed, Emma turned to find her father watching the colorful canvases, deep in thought. Would he finally begin to see her? She resisted the urge to voice her concerns, trusting this first step might pave the way for a future filled with understanding. But what lay ahead remained shrouded in uncertainty, igniting a new fear. Was she truly ready to confront the fullness of her father's reaction and the weight of what they had yet to discover? The silence that enveloped them stretched thin, a taut wire of anticipation. Emma's heart raced, each pulse a desperate plea for validation. She observed her father, his expression a blend of confusion and contemplation. What was hidden beneath those layers? Thoughts she dared not voice. Perhaps it was the fear of exposure, both his and hers. "This is new for me too," he finally said, his voice lower and tinged with uncertainty. "I just want to protect you." Protect? The word reverberated in Emma's mind. Was it protection he offered, or was it an imposition of his fears upon her life? She could feel the flicker of irritation start to ignite again, but she tempered her reaction. This was not about confrontation, it was about connection. "Dad, I appreciate that," she replied, striving for calm. "But protecting me from my own choices isn't love. It feels more like you want to wrap me in cotton so I won't fall." He shifted slightly, a flash of defensiveness sparking behind his eyes. "And what if you fall?" "Then I'll get back up," she countered, her resolve firming. "That's a part of life. I've spent too long on the ground, too afraid to take risks because of what I thought you expected of me." The weight of her admission hung between them. Them. Each word was like a stroke on a canvas, boldly outlining her truths. "I've painted my journey, Dad," she continued, gesturing toward her art. "With every brushstroke, I've learned about who I want to be. I hope one day you can see that beauty." He paused, his eyes shifting from her to the paintings. Emma could see the wheels turning in his mind, wrestling with the shadows of his past. It dawned on her, this was no easy path for him either. "Why is it so important for you to share this with me?" he eventually murmured, his voice thick with emotion. "Because you're my father," she said simply. "And for so long, I thought I had to hide this part of myself from you. But I also want you to know me, fully." His gaze locked onto hers, an unspoken question flickering in the depths of his eyes. Did he seek approval? Understanding? Emma couldn't be sure. All she knew was that she didn't want to explore this journey alone any longer. As the tension shifted from confrontation to something almost palpable, a surge of courage rose within her. Maybe it was this exchange, one that felt like carving through granite, to finally uncover what lay beneath. Would you consider coming to my exhibition?" Emma asked, her voice lower now, inflected with hope and longing. "I need you to see the story I've shared, the one that can't be spoken or heard, only felt." The hesitation that filled the room felt like an eternity. Emma's breath caught, waiting for his response, as doubt intermingled with anticipation. What if he said no? "I don't know, Emma," he finally remarked, uncertainty framing the words. "I've spent a lifetime thinking this way. It's hard to change." "I know," she interjected gently. "But isn't life about growth? If I can do it, why can't you?" His brow creased slightly, as if she had forced him to confront an uncomfortable truth. Perhaps he did see the parallel. Perhaps he understood, in his own way, that growth was uncomfortable. For a fleeting moment their eyes met, and Emma felt the depth of uncharted possibilities unfolding. It sparked a notion of vulnerability she hadn't anticipated. If he could find the courage to step forth, so could she. But the road ahead was daunting. Even beneath the warmth of newfound understanding, Emma feared her father's reaction when confronted with the colors of her art. "Maybe I will come," he finally admitted, a whisper of curiosity entwined with his skepticism. Emma's heart soared slightly, but she was acutely aware that one moment of revelation didn't erase a lifetime of misunderstandings. Would it be enough to explore this new dynamic? "I hope you do," Emma said, smiling softly. "It would mean everything to me." Amanda, watching quietly from the periphery, seemed to sense the shifting dynamics. "You're building something remarkable here," she chimed in. "Both of you. Just remember, it takes time and effort." Time, an unyielding force. Emma grappled with the realization that navigating this relationship would require more than one exhibition. It was a commitment to continuous dialogue, vulnerability, and the willingness to confront discomfort. As the night wore on, Emma felt a strange mix of anticipation and anxiety. Would her father truly embrace the art she poured her soul into? "Just know," he said, breaking the silence again, "I'm willing to try." But deep down, amid shimmers of hope, dread lingered like a distant storm cloud on the horizon. The real challenges still awaited. Emma turned away momentarily, gathering her thoughts. What if diving deeper revealed parts of herself even she was unprepared to face? With her heart pounding, she pondered what strength lay within the shadows of their histories. What hidden pieces of her father would she uncover through this journey? The certainty of tomorrow's conversations loomed large, an untamed beast she had yet to tame. The ink of their narrative was still drying. Would it bind them closer or further drive them apart? As she stood before her father, uncertainty unfurled, a raw, pulsating reminder that while they had made strides, treacherous waters still lay ahead. What awaited them beyond acceptance? Emma tightened her grip on the present, each moment leading her closer to the confrontation only time would reveal. The intersection of art and family, emotions intermingled, creating an exquisite tapestry that existed between love and fear. Emma awoke the next morning with a restless energy pulsating through her. The sun spilled its light across her room, illuminating the canvases that had witnessed her evolution. She could feel the excitement of yesterday beginning to settle, like embers fading, yet still warm enough to spark new fires. The forthcoming exhibition now loomed closer, a daunting reminder of both vulnerability and courage. After a quick breakfast, she set to work on her final pieces. Each brushstroke was imbued with the weight of her father's tentative promise to attend. What if he actually saw her? What if the color spoke truths so vivid he couldn't deny them? She felt a tremor of fear at the thought. Would the memories buried in the colors overwhelm him? Or would they forge a bridge toward understanding, illuminating the dark corners of their shared past? With each stroke of her brush, Emma allowed her thoughts to wander, swimming through the possibilities clenched within her heart. The emergence of her professional identity clashed violently with the fragile threads of her personal life. Yesterday marked the first step in blurring those lines. She had invited her father to witness the intimate form of herself she had sheltered for so long. But asking him to see her was one thing, facing the reality of it was another. As the hours wore on, she found herself distracted, thoughts orbiting back to her father's doubt. The hesitation in his voice haunted her. Emma took a moment to sift through her feelings, questioning their validity. Was she desperate for acceptance, or was she genuinely seeking to reconnect with a man she had once idolized? The need for clarity propelled her to confront a deeper question. Who was she without the confines of his expectations? That thought lingered like a shadow as she stepped outside into the crisp air. The vibrant autumn foliage caught her breath momentarily, vibrant and alive, much like the colors she would soon exhibit. It reminded her of the resilience that came with change. She had seen trees shed their leaves in the face of winter only to blossom again in the spring. Recognizing that parallel allowed her a measure of comfort. This transformation was also an opportunity to grow. Emma decided to visit a local artist space known for diverse expressions and collaboration. While a part of her hesitated, uncertainty flickering like a candle's flame about navigating such a creative world, another part urged her forward. This was a test, an opportunity to seek feedback that could sharpen her craft, and for her, pivotal in solidifying her artistry's authenticity. Walking through the gallery, she stepped over colorful splashes of paint on the wooden floor, each a testament to the unfiltered expression of an artist's struggle. Conversations filled the air, laughter combined with critiques, sparking a buzz that wrapped around her like a familiar embrace. As she moved from piece to piece, Emma began to engage in dialogues about creative processes, each exchange tugging at her confidence. They offered fresh perspectives, but also deeper evaluations that made her confront her past in a new light. After sharing her work with a few established artists, she found herself discussing the themes woven through her art. The concept of vulnerability emerged as a focus, a rawness that spoke of struggle, light against dark, hope against despair. Suddenly, the very thing she feared, her father's reaction to her work, transformed into a source of strength. It was becoming clearer. This emotional resonance was authentic. It sprang from her truth. Feeling charged with inspiration, Emma left the space determined to return to her studio. She wanted to channel this newfound motivation into her final pieces. She was ready to face the storm of emotions, both in her work and her relationship with her father. But as she approached her studio, she was met with an unexpected sight. A letter was propped against the door. A thick envelope marked with a familiar script that knotted her stomach in instinctive fear. Her hands trembled as she reached for it, knowing that it could be the catalyst for change or the anchor of her fears. Emma stood still, enveloped in uncertainty, feeling the weight of what lay ahead. Would this letter present a new turning point, propelling her toward the confrontation she needed? Or would it overshadow the blossoming connection she desperately sought with her father? As she held the envelope in trembling fingers, anticipation coiling tightly within her, the imminent revelations loomed, awaiting her eyes to decipher their meaning and redirect her path yet again. Emma's fingers quivered as they brushed the envelope's edge, a heavy breath easing from her lungs. The penmanship was undeniably familiar, her father's. A mix of apprehension and curiosity stirred within her. Was this a preliminary attempt at reconciliation, or merely a reaffirmation of his unresolved doubts about her chosen path? With cautious deliberation, she tore the envelope open, the crinkling sound amplifying her heartbeat. Inside, a note lay folded, its presence both comforting and foreboding. She steadied herself, unfolding the paper, each crease whispering echoes of their strained history as she began to read. Emma, I know this letter might come as a surprise, but I've spent the last few days thinking deeply about our conversation at your exhibition. I realize I've been holding tightly to my expectations, but perhaps it's time I took a step back. It's easy to lose sight of the dreams I used to have for myself, while hoping those dreams would be reflected in you. I didn't consider the burden that placed on you until I saw your art. I want you to know that I'm willing to try to understand. I'm willing to view the world through your eyes, to embrace the colors you paint with, the emotions you pour into each piece. I may not always understand art, but I promise to show up, to support you, and more importantly, to see you. Love, Dad. Tears brimmed in Emma's eyes as the weight lifted from her shoulders. This was not just a note, it was an olive branch. In those simple lines, she found recognition and acceptance, a warmth radiating through her that filled the empty spaces left by doubt. For so long, years that stretched like unyielding shadows, she hadn't believed her father could embrace her artistic ambitions. Yet, here it was, a bridge built with the bricks of vulnerability, an acknowledgement of her individuality. As she gazed at the canvas surrounding her, each stroke now symbolized more than just artistry. It represented a mosaic of struggles and triumphs intertwined. With every stroke, Emma felt reinvigorated, fortified to pursue her journey as both an artist and a daughter. Days turned into nights as the exhibition date approached, and Emma worked feverishly to perfect her final pieces. The whispers of her father's words played like a melody in her mind, a constant reminder that she was not alone. The fear of failure was still present, but it was brightened by the realization that she was now stepping into her own light, unencumbered by the weight of his expectations. Finally, the day arrived. The gallery, once an empty shell, was teeming with vibrant energy and creativity, a reflection of the narrative they had crafted together. As guests mingled and admired the artwork, Emma felt a surge of exhilaration, and beneath that, a steady pulse of nerves. She looked for her father, anticipation buzzing in the air. When she finally spotted him, standing by one of her favorite pieces, her heart soared. This painting, a riot of reds and greens, was a representation of her struggle and resilience, a moment encapsulated in color. "Looks familiar," he called over, a small smile creeping across his face, one that had been absent for far too long. "You've captured something so raw here, something that makes it real." Emma stood beside him, the moment feeling transformative. That's the point, isn't it? To be real, to allow for the mess that life can be. Their eyes met, the understanding flowing unspoken between them, an exchanged vow of intent to embrace each other with compassion. Over the course of the evening, they journeyed through each piece together, sharing thoughts and emotions that had often gone unacknowledged. Emma explained the meanings, and her father shared what he saw, inching closer to a shared understanding of their worlds. With every conversation, the distance that had once defined their relationship began to dissolve. Each comment was a brick pulled from an old wall, and the air shifted from suffocating tension to one of buoyant possibility. As the night progressed, a sense of authenticity settled deep within Emma. She realized that her path did not require her father's approval, yet flourished with his support. She had conquered the fear of rejection and emerged not as a single entity, but as a daughter standing beside her father, a confluence of two shared yet distinct journeys. Ultimately, it wasn't merely about her art, it was about their evolving relationship, the ability to express dreams without fear of misalignment. As they stood together at the exhibition's close, Emma felt a profound stillness and peace far deeper than before. This moment heralded a new beginning. It was a mutual promise to explore what lay ahead with honesty, creating space for dialogue amidst the art of life. Emma had not only achieved personal recognition, but had also rekindled a bond that would evolve with her artistry, a testament to growth. As the gallery lights dimmed and the last guests began to fade, Emma turned to her father and smiled, a shared understanding radiating between them. "Thank you for being here tonight," she said softly, acknowledgement threading through her words. "I wouldn't miss it," he replied, his eyes misting with pride. Together, they stepped out, into the vibrant world painted anew, where courage, vulnerability, and love resonated on every canvas and page of their unfolding narrative. Don't wait even one more second to subscribe immediately to the channel for more exclusive emotional stories that resonate with this journey. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support storytelling that drives transformation. Comment your thoughts about this concluding chapter and share this video with at least 5 friends who need inspiration from personal overcoming stories. You need to show your support as true fans of growth and resilience.